Well, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the Civic Licensing Committee. May I remind all attendees that this meeting is being recorded and webcast live on the Council's YouTube channel. Could I remind all remote attendees to mute their microphones when not speaking, and please raise your electronic hand should you wish to speak. If we start with apologies for absence, item 1.
There's no apologies, Convener. All members present.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest and statements of transparency. Councillor Braze.
Yes, thanks, Convener. I think I should make a statement of transparency regarding item 8, which is report 24923, Montrose Playhouse. I did have correspondence from Mr. Buchanan regarding this matter, and when we get to the agenda item, it'll all unfold. But I have had correspondence. I was involved a wee bit. I don't consider at all that there's any declaration of interest to make, but I thought a statement of transparency was appropriate.
Thank you, Councillor Braze. Anyone else? Okay. We move on to delegated approvals. Page 5 to 8. Again, I'll mention that these are approvals that have been delegated to officers. Therefore, all we have to do is to actually note these. Oh, no, sorry, I think, did I do minutes of the previous meeting? No, I don't think I did. Okay, sorry, I missed item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Can we agree these as a true record of the meeting?
Agreed.
Thank you, Convener. In terms of the Civic Government Scotland Act 1982, the Council is obliged to review the fares charged for taxi and private hire fares that are charged by licensed operators within the area, and this is required to be conducted within 18 months. The last taxi fares review produced changes, and this now needs to be looked at again by the Council, i.e. by this committee, and the relevant process commenced. So this report is with a view to commencing that statutory process.
Are there any questions on this report? Comment, Councillor Braze?
Yes, this is just the normal process, of course, but I think it's extremely important that we do review these because we've had enormous inflation over recent year or two, and we're in a position now that certainly in the borough of Montrose it's extremely difficult to get a taxi because there's no profit in it anymore. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Braze. Any other comments?
Can I just correct something? Apologies, I believe I said taxi and private hire fares. That should just have been taxi.
Thank you for that. If we move then to the recommendations in this report, recommendation 1, that we note the legal requirements on licensing authorities in respect of the fixing of scales for their fares and other charges in connection with the hire or with the arrangements for the hire of taxis in terms of Section 17 of the Civic Government Scotland Act 1982. Is that noted? Noted. 2. notes the process of reviewing the fares and other charges in connection with the hire or with the arrangements for the hire of a taxi, and determines whether to commence the process of reviewing the fares and other charges in connection with the hire or with the arrangements for hire of a taxi. Is 2 noted? Noted. And 3, do we agree to begin the process? Agreed. Thank you. If we move now to item 7, which is page 11.
6.
Sorry?
6.
Oh, sorry, 6. Yep, item 6, page 11. And that's taxi and private hire licences, governance and change. Do you want to talk to this one, Jennifer?
Well, thank you, Convener. In terms, again, of the Civic Government Scotland Act, the Council is required to calculate, it doesn't specifically say calculate, but effectively we're required to calculate what fees we charge for licensing applications in respect of taxi and private hire. And effectively, the intention is that that should cover the income that we receive from that should cover the costs in conducting the licensing process and regulating that. You'll see there that figures have been calculated in terms of the previous year and the 2022-23, and that costs have been calculated in respect of, estimated in respect of 23 and 24, and comparisons have also been done in respect of the previous years from 2019 and 20. And you'll note there that there are deficits identified in 2019 to 20 and 2020 to 21, and a surplus in the 2 preceding years.
Any questions from members of the board? Any comments? No? Okay, we will move to the recommendations. Recommendation 1, that we note the legal obligation incumbent upon the Council in relation to fees in respect of taxi and private hire driver and operator's licence. Are we happy to note that? 2, we note the actual 2002-2003 and estimated budget for 2003-2004, income received and expenditure incurred in the respect of taxi and private hire driver and operator licences as contained in Appendix 1. Do we want to agree to note that? 3, that we agree to make no changes to the fees to be charged in respect of the taxi and private hire operators and drivers' licences in respect of the period 1st of September 2023 and the 31st of August 2004. Are we agreed? Agreed. And 4, we note that the fees in respect of taxi and private hire licences will be reviewed following the end of the financial year 2003-2024. Did I say 2003? 2023-2024, with a view to setting fees to be applied with effect from the 1st of September 2024. Can we note? Noted. Thank you. Moves us on now to item 7, which is Civic Government Scotland Act 1982, licensing of short-term lets, page 15 to 16. Does anyone want to speak to this one?
Thank you, Convener. Yes, this report is to provide an update in terms of the short-term lets provisions, which are to finally be implemented the day before the 1st of October. And so it's to, you'll see that it lists the application numbers which have been received, how they have been processed, and also that it is estimated that there are still a considerable number of outstanding premises which may make application. The numbers provided in terms of anticipated applications were very much estimated, and so we really don't have any idea of how many premises will still apply. However, nonetheless, it is expected that there will be a number, and that they, before the final date. And in the meantime, the Council's website and social media pages, etc., have been updated to and are being kept updated to give warnings to those to whom this may apply, so that they are aware that if they're captured by this, that they need to make application before the 1st of October.
Thank you. Remembering that this is the report for noting, and it's basically an update of what's happened up to date, do we have any questions? Councillor Whiteside.
Thanks, Convener. Just a question around about where the estimated numbers came from, because obviously there's a huge gap between the applications we've received and the number of estimated properties. And I'm just wondering, how do we follow up on properties that haven't applied for a licence? Have we got any method of knowing who's operating without a licence?
Yes, I am not aware of arrangements that have been put in place to follow up. The difficulty being that the information really has been, as I understand it, just gathered from various sources, but not really anything that can be particularly relied on with any particular accuracy. In terms of operating without a licence, where a licence is required, that is a criminal matter with criminal implications, which would be a police matter. Otherwise, arrangements have not been put in place that I'm aware of specifically with regard to follow-up.
Thank you. Councillor Braze.
Yes, I just wonder then, does Angus Council have any responsibility to go out and seek people that should be licensed but aren't?
We are the regulatory authority. However, I'm not aware of any specific duty which requires us to follow up. I assume partly because of the difficulty of actually identifying those properties which should be. One of the likely means of following up is that there is a duty on those who are operating to identify that if they are actually advertising for business, and so that is likely to be a means of identifying, and I would anticipate that there will be officers perhaps that will be incorporated within their role, assuming manpower, etc., but that is something, obviously trading standards and so on and so forth are consider these kind of matters in relation to other aspects, but I'm not aware of specific measures having been put in place at this present time.
Okay, thanks. I would have thought it wouldn't be too time consuming for someone to sit down and go through the holiday let websites and just see what is being advertised for holiday let and then cross-check them with. You wouldn't get them all very quickly, but you would get a huge number, no doubt. Thanks.
I suppose the issue with that was that if it was after the beginning of October, would there then be on a duty, would the council officer have a duty then to report anyone that didn't have a licence? I don't know.
Obviously, there's a lot of media attention about this at the moment, and I'm just wondering, is there anyone keeping an eye on government information coming through? Because there has been some statements this week that they're looking to delay this process. So is there someone keeping an eye on government sites to see what's actually going to be happening regarding the short-term lets?
Yes, we do keep up to date in terms of government direction and so on and so forth. I know that there has been some talk externally in terms of delay, but there has certainly been no indication that I'm aware of to local authorities that there will be any delay.
Any other comments? Councillor Melville.
Yeah, this is a comment, convener. It's just on, firstly, on the delay. Ministers a few days ago have rejected any idea of a delay, so I think we should probably put that out of our minds as a body. But members will have seen the coverage of the scheme as referred to by Councillor Durno, including the parliamentary debate yesterday. And I just wanted to take this moment to reassure both short-term let operators and the wider public that when we as a body sat down to decide these rules, we did listen both to stakeholders and industry operators. And I think the process that we went through was fair. And I think we did tread the very careful line between, yes, the necessary safety standards and asking for a licence fee, but in a way that will enable short-term let operators to keep contributing to the local economy so we can keep welcoming people here to Angus. And obviously, and I've spoken about this already this week, that as a council, we do have to make sure that we strike the right balance between providing the long-term accommodation that people really do need, particularly during the housing shortage, and being able to welcome people here for tourism. And I know that the council is across various departments working hard, including with partners, to do that. But I think on the regulations, I think we did get the balance right, and I would encourage anyone who is still outstanding to apply for a licence by the 1st of October.
Thank you, Councillor Melville. Any other comments? Councillor Scott.
Just a couple of concerns, really. I mean, if 191 or, between 191 and 291 applications, if they're expected to come in, we've only got 2 weeks of the month left to do it. So that's a huge volume of work for, obviously, officers. But also just concerns around tourism, at a time where we're trying to boost tourism and bring tourists in. If people don't apply, then there's not really going to be very many places for them to stay. And I have had, constituents get in touch with me that said they're no longer going to do it because they will not be applying for a licence. It's too onerous a task. However, as Councillor Melville said, we've scaled back to make this as simple a process as we can. We removed a lot of the unnecessary things, what we felt was unnecessary. So yeah, just try and encourage people to apply, or else we'll not have much in the way of tourism. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Anyone else? I think just to emphasise what the councillors were saying there, I do recall that when we discussed this is actually regulation, so the parts that we approved were the parts that we had to approve. Any other additions which seemed to be a bit sticky for us, we actually didn't accept. So we took the lightest touch, I think, that we could legally. So I think this is a scheme that's there. We'll just have to wait and see what the outcome is. Okay, if there are no other comments, if we move to the recommendation. So recommendation 1 notes the number of applications received, number granted, and number currently in the process for short-term lets. Are we happy to note that? No. 2, we note the number of anticipated applications for the Angus Council area, with the date of the 1st of October being the date by which these applications should be submitted. And we note that the public register of licences in the Angus area is available on the Council's webpage, www.angus.gov.uk. We happy to note these? Thank you. We move on to item 8, exception to cinema licence conditions, page 17 to 40. Now, on this application, I believe we have Matthew Buchanan, the manager of the Playhouse, coming in, and Rachel from Land XC, both attending remotely. Matthew, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Would you like to talk to the application, Matthew?
Yes, obviously, we're very keen to hopefully gain approval to the exception. We strongly believe that this is part of bringing and raising the cultural awareness in Angus, and also around environmental issues that are obviously a hot topic. Rachel has curated a really sensational programme, which will hopefully educate all those attending. And a great deal of time and effort's gone into the festival, and we're hoping to welcome a lot of visitors to the festival. So yes, so we're just very keen to hopefully get a good result today.
Sorry, Rachel, would you like to say any more?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I think just to echo what Matt says, there's a lot of buzz. We've had a lot of interest from the community, local businesses and environmental charity organisations, universities, people coming from all over the region, excited to take part. There's been great press coverage. I have a background in film festival curation. It is a situation when you are bringing international films. Some of these films are showing in Scotland or the UK for the first time, that they may not have the ratings here. But we purposely tried to bring films that are educational, accessible to as broader range of ages as possible, to steer clear of any very overtly controversial content. These are mostly nature and environmental documentaries and not explicit adult films. And we thank the board for considering the application.
Thank you, Rachel. Just for members, obviously you'll be aware in the papers that the list of the films are listed at Appendix 1, and there is guidance on the category system listed at Appendix 2. Are there any questions from the board? Councillor Whiteside.
Yeah, it would just be interesting to get feedback from the members who kindly volunteered to go through the films.
Thank you, Councillor Whiteside. Yes, as part of this process, what happened was that 5 board members across section were asked to actually view the films so that we could come back with a recommendation to the board. Mine's, I believe, was 11.5 hours of movies that I viewed. Some might have been more, I don't know, but there were 20, I believe, 20 films, some very short. So we took our time out to view these, just to make sure that we were happy with them. And I'll give anyone else who actually viewed them an opportunity to come forward should they wish. Councillor Clark.
Yep, well, I took mine very seriously, actually, probably a wee bit more seriously than I ought to. I did what I was asked, but I did phone up the person involved because I thought I was looking up BBC guidelines and everything. I'm thinking I'm not qualified to be going into this into the depth that I did, but it was a job well done. Sometimes the links were not quite so easy to get into, but we got there. It was fine. It was really well done. It was okay. And I hope I've done what I was supposed to do.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Anyone else? Councillor Fotheringham.
Thank you, Convener. Yes, like Councillor Clark, I too watched the film, and as you said at the start, Convener, some of them were very short, others were sort of 90 minutes, I think one of them was. I've no issue with this, and just wish the Playhouse and the Montrose Festival every success. Thank you.
Yeah, I liked the last ski maker in Scotland. That was really interesting. And if we keep getting the snow that we're going to anticipate getting with climate change, that'll come in really handy. And I'd also like to say that I welcome the fact that you're getting the community from Tayside Contracts for doing your traffic management this weekend. So good luck with that, and all the best.
Councillor Braze.
Yes, thanks, Convener. Yes, I do have no problem with any of these films being shown at the Montrose Playhouse during the Landbassie Film Festival. I think it's a really good programme. I would say that, providing that we agree to this today, I wish you every success with your film festival. I hope it's the first of many, and of course, in the future, for your next film festivals, you'll know the process and you'll know to, so we can avoid this situation again. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank the officers, the convener, and all my colleagues who sat through the 11.5 hours of films. You know, it was quite a daunting thing for us to take on, but we got through it. But your support in this has been much appreciated, and I think, you know, we have a role here regulating and, you know, sort of making sure that rules are enforced. But it's really important to always remember that we want to be a help and not a hindrance to people, and I think we've all done that on this occasion. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Braze. If there are no other comments, we'll move to recommendations. Recommendation 1, or 1 and 2, we determine whether to permit the exhibition of 20 unclassified films, and if the committee is minded to permit the showing of the 20 unclassified films, determine what, if any, conditions apply to the permission. So are we agreed that we will permit the showing of the films with firstly? Agreed. And do we want to apply any conditions? No. Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for presenting. As you heard there, it has been agreed that the films can be viewed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 9, the exclusion of public and press. The committee are asked to note that the public and press will be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following item, so as to avoid disclosing confidential information in terms of section 50A brackets 2 and brackets 3 brackets B to the Local Government Scotland Act 1973. Have we agreed? Do we note that?
Dawn, would you stop the live stream, and that concludes the recording for Civic Licensing Committee.